Thank you, Josh. Welcome to the Human Rights Committee of Council for Tuesday, March 10th. I'm Sherry Rollins. With me is Vice Chair Councillor Chambers, also Peter Prinsloo, the committee clerk from the City Clerk's Department. We have, well, I'll start with the land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation and Treaty 3 territory. Before we get started, we'll need a motion to allow online participation. So moved by Councillor Chambers. All those in favor?
Aye.
And if you can do a show of hand in online, thank you. That was carried. We'll need a motion too for the previous minutes moved by Ruben Garang, if you're available to move the previous minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
And show of hands online, thank you. That was carried. Oh, and then if you're participating online, if you could put your video on, we'll give you a minute to do that.
Marianne just joined.
And I understand Marianne too has joined, so we'll wait for Marianne to put her video on. Thank you.
Well, and just as a note, with the fact that, I mean, we're just hovering above quorum. If you need to leave, just let us know so that we can pause for any,
Yeah. And boy, do I ever appreciate that we have quorum. I know there are a lot of cold and flus going around. And so thanks, so much for being here. Even if you're online, it means a lot. We do have a fairly quick agenda today. I don't see Marianne yet. She might be having trouble with her video.
No, I prefer not to put my video on. Thank you.
Okay.
as long as we can.
As long as we can hear you and we can hear you fine, that's great. Then we'll move on to today's agenda. But before we do that, does anyone have any human rights news that they'd like to share, update? If not, we'll get going. The human rights news that I have pertains to the Senate Committee on Indigenous Peoples introducing amendments to Bill S2 in 2025, and a bunch of folks being at the UN this week talking about the plans regarding the Indian Act and specifically the second generation cutoff rule. It goes well with a report that we have on item 3 of the agenda. But before we begin, I want to start with the updated Human Rights Committee of Council 2026 work plan. Many of you have had a chance to examine the work plan. I'd like to thank Ali and Owen and all of you for reviewing. If we have a mover, it went up and through council. So if we have a mover, I hope you can see your amendments in here to thematic priorities and more. And if we have a mover or for discussion, up to you. If you have a mover, maybe someone can raise their hand online. And Gav, if you wanted to do that, for instance, excellent, thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's consensus. And Marianne, if you can just signal your vote as well.
Her hand has been raised.
Oh, thank you. We saw your hand. Thanks, Peter. That was carried unanimously. The committee budget update. This is a routine budget update that we provide. We just got our budget through the Committee of Council last month. So here we are. If there's any questions, we'll move on to a motion if someone's willing to move. Kara, are you willing to move? All those in favor?
Aye.
that was carried unanimously. Moving on to We Take Care of Them, What We Heard report. This report is a report that is from Giganaway Nimanagig. And for those of you familiar, Sandra Delaron presented last year to the Human Rights Committee of Council on the work of Giganananig, which has been responsible for really working on the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and defining the work plan going forward and negotiating with the federal government and more. And this report, I asked permission. I've been working with Sandra Delaron and the committee since prior to the national inquiries closed, where I worked, but also then when I came to council, moved on to working with Gigananawa Namananig, and so wanted to share this report on the record, look at some of the findings at a glance, in particular, the pattern of intimate partner and violence against women that we see, the differences in urban and remote that are in the report, and really ground some of this for the future work that we've got in the work plan. Is there any discussion? Councillor Chambers.
Yeah, so in review of this report, do we know who else it is intended to, who they intend to provide a copy of this report to? Like, I think the Winnipeg Police Board would particularly, this would be particularly good information for them to lead in their discussions on their strategic plan as well. And I know that as my time as chair of the police board, we had a particular focus on Indigenous relations. I know that the service has hired Angie Tuesday, who serves as a social worker, back to the families, and also Sheila North Wilson as a consult to the service in sensitive matters and dealing with Indigenous populations. So again, I'm wondering if this document here is something that can be shared with the Winnipeg Police Board.
Yes, I believe it may have been, but I can certainly write a letter and let them know of both our strategic plan, but also that this report is on the record. If all, things go well and we receive it as information here today. It does go to the federal government. It does go to, the Indigenous governments. It goes to Public Safety Canada. It goes to, it is intended for, to further the work with the federal, with all governments. So certainly that was the intent to put it on the report. There's also other places. So that's a really good point to be able to share it and describe how we're looking at it at the Human Rights Committee of Council in line with the updated work plan for 2026. But also, share it with other departments. So really good point. I'll put that in my to-do list for sure.
Well, and as I'm looking at it now, page 17, it looks like they list some of the agencies, Child and Family, Winnipeg Police Service, Exploited Persons Unit, Victim Services, emergency shelters and housing programs, school-based supports, EIA, therapists, family, doctors, health providers, 211 city services, which is great. Word of mouth, family and friend, yeah, so that word of mouth. And potentially social media, getting it out to all counselors will be a great way of further disseminating it to the wider population, because each counselor has, a good amount of people that, are a part of their social media as well.
Okay, great. I understand Marianne has her hand up. Marianne, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that the Red Dress Alert pilot project final report was publicly shared a few months back, and a lot of discussions have been happening intergovernmentally with the federal government, the provincial government, intergovernmentally, like justice and wage, and there are a lot of parties who have come together to contemplate what the recommendations that were made in that report, and it includes First Nations governments as well as police services, and everything that was identified previously has all been contemplated, and that work has begun. So they have taken significant steps to circulate the report, and it has been done through the media, and is in the midst of negotiations right now with the different levels of government related to funding.
Yes. Yes. And with us here is Jessica Paley. Jessica and I have been both working with Angela and Sandra and more. Do you have some comments on the record here? Thank you, by the way, for coming.
Of course. So, yes, I'm Jessica Paley. I'm with the City of Winnipeg's Indigenous Relations Division, and a member to Kaganaway Manananig. And so, throughout the Red Dress Alert, we've actually participated. We've participated in consultations, distribution of the What We Heard reports, and all the respective ceremonies. So appreciate Mary's comments on all the work that's been done, and certainly councillors' comments on further distribution, and I think we're getting to a place in terms of what it means for recommendations and what we can do here at the City of Winnipeg, and really highlighting the ongoing crisis. It's been 6+ years since the national inquiry, and I think that there's in my experiences some collective beliefs that the violence isn't as bad as it was 10 years ago, and it's really unfortunate that community has to spend their time and resources on producing almost annual reports on the evidence of the crisis, and working really hard with Sherry on what that means and what we can do here. So appreciate anybody's support and opportunity to work with, and so lots of ongoing work, and like Mary had mentioned, at the implementation stage of the Red Dress Alert, and have some plans that here but hopefully working on some consultations internally here. So could really use some support on that.
Okay, Councillor Chambers.
Yes, and thank you for your presentation this morning. Great news to hear that the violence is less than it was 10 years ago.
No, it's
that
not.
wasn't the point.
No,
I think
it's not.
that's the perspective
Oh, okay.
that we're often up against in terms of how we're resourcing prevention, just resources in general, how we're even responding on frontline services, how we're training, who we're hiring. It's kind of all across the board. And I think all that needs to be taken into consideration on how we respond in prevention aspects. And And so this report really highlights that it's not getting better. The Red Dress Alert consultations also highlighted, even through the Red Dress stories, I think I submitted through, there was a committee, but it really highlights that, from 2019 to 2022, there were 180 women that went missing or murdered in Manitoba, which numbers
Just
are
in Manitoba?
just in Manitoba, which is higher than prior to the numbers that were submitted prior to the national inquiry from 2012 to 2018, 2019. So that's actually higher. So that's just one way of describing how it is getting worse. Never mind considering the experiences of encampments and displacement in Winnipeg.
So then what are some of the recommendations on how to improve outcomes?
Okay, so thank you for asking that. That's very important. And so I think it's very important that we look at training here at the city, trauma-informed training, all Indigenous-led, survivor-led, experience-led. Also, how we respond to various calls in terms of not only who we're training, but who we're hiring. That lived experience piece is very important. The Indigenous sovereignty is very important. We also want to, safe spaces is key, especially when we're talking about issues around encampment, displacement, when folks are coming here from northern communities and experience unsafe situations, and how we're responding even through our communications, 311, 911, and how we're trained and access to resources in that manner. And then human rights like transportation and shelter spaces.
So how much of this training takes place in community to bring awareness to, I note that in some northern communities, the education system only goes up to a certain grade, and then they are attending the city to further their education. But that brings certain vulnerabilities as young students coming into the big city that they don't know. So what kind of training happens in community to bring better awareness when they're migrating to the city?
So organizations do a really great job, and trauma-informed, mental health, first aid, but also that takes a lot of resources. And so I don't think that we're asking to train community members. I think we're asking to train city staff so that they're responding in appropriate ways. I don't think that it's appropriate to put that burden onto nonprofit organizations or territorial organizations when we're not hiring in a manner that's responsive to the needs of Indigenous communities and Indigenous members of the community.
Thank you.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that being said, there is a lot of work that happens before, my niece, who came from South Indian Lake, lived with us to go to high school for a bit. There is work that is done, that Kukums and more to prepare. But it's sometimes different. But yeah, the focus of training, the focus on safe space, the focus on encampment displacements in those safe space and shelter spaces, that is so incredible. We do have, an update soon on training and Indigenous-led training. It's not enough perhaps, but we do have some things in the queue that we're working on, and certainly that, but there's more to do, and we do have more in our work plan. And part of making sure that this is on a council agenda is the intent. And so, but a good point made by the vice chair here. I'll endeavor to get actual physical copies to my colleagues and to the police board, and more. Part of what we did last year was try to extend the reach of campaigns. And so this was perhaps an easy but also meaningful way to really extend the reach of this report, and by literally putting it on a council agenda. So if there's a motion to do that,
Ruben has his hand up.
oh, Ruben, go ahead. Thank you. I still can't see that orange. I think I'm colorblind.
Just a comment about this and in relation to the work of the committee. It's really heartbreaking to hear that the numbers are bad compared to what we have known, and I think that I kind of beg the questions in terms of the moving forward part of it, like what are we as a city going to do? And especially because it is a human rights issue, and it's also related to many other social factors that we could list that we all know. So I think that begs that question of, okay, so if the numbers are not that better compared to what we've known before, then what is our new strategy as a city? And would that be something that this committee would champion? And if we are going to, so taking the report to the city, would that be just disseminating the information, or should this committee, maybe have a subgroup to work on this and then identify, more kind of a concrete action that we could all rally behind and bring to the city? That's just my comment.
An excellent suggestion, and I, Jessica and I have been part of a variety of presentations since I want to say 2018, 2019 that she and I have done externally, sometimes to grad classes on the City of Winnipeg's action plan opposite National Inquiry's calls to justice. And that really was, an action plan that then goes into an SPAP this term. I mean, the work of IRD has been, and Jessica is modest, so I will brag about her. Jessica's been on the front line doing this work along with Cecil Svensson, working with impacted families, ensuring Indigenous women and girls, Two-Spirit and gender diverse voices lead solutions in the city, developing and implementing the civic implementation plan with all departments, with priorities on safe transportation, training and awareness, and safe spaces. And those have been the three that have been motioned, including the safe space funding structure that we doubled this term, that frankly, last term held up Velma's House in a way that was unexpected by me, because Velma's House couldn't have gone forward because it was years later that other governments came to match those dollars for the first Indigenous-led safe space. So the cultural competency training for vehicle for hires, another major moment for our work with the transportation theme, the placement and maintenance of the rainbow butterfly warming hut in St. John's Park. I'm forgetting some, Red Dress we've mentioned, within Winnipeg Public Libraries, Esplanade Riad. I'm forgetting things, Jessica, but I wanted to highlight.
Mm-hmm. And it's documented in the Winnipeg Indigenous Accord, because that's where we report our response and our progress.
Yes.
There are themes and what I was and we're also at a place where it's been a few years now, so we're in the development of a dashboard to see where progress has been made, where progress might have fallen in terms of employing Indigenous women and gender diverse people at the city, and in what, like, higher management positions, all the way to policy amendments like the vehicle for hire, including a code of conduct. And this year we've added culturally safe human trafficking and exploitation module, because the vehicle.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Culturally safe.
Yeah, culturally safe human trafficking and exploitation module in the vehicle for hire training, because it's being moved online now. And so the development of that also includes the mindset that we'll be able to use those modules for city staff training. So it's not entirely specific to to drivers in the city.
And then the hotel, VRBO, human trafficking amendments, like there's been,
Yeah.
but to your point, Ruben, and I'll move to Councillor Chambers. Your point, Ruben, is well taken. And in part, we do have a bit of a workout that we can do, and do something more in depth if you've got your hand up, for instance. We also have, work planned in line with the work plan too, that we passed up to council. So definitely there's more to be done. But that's been some of the work that we've been focused on along those three priorities. But there's always more to do. You had your hand up
Yeah. Marianne.
and then Marianne, we'll go to you first. Go ahead, Councillor Chambers.
So, and again, this is all great information here. I noticed on page 3 of the report, there's a quick reference to shaped by colonial systems that do not speak to our languages, reflect our realities, or honor our full spiritual, emotional, and relational impacts of gender-based violence. I'm wondering if, in terms of this report as well, and I'm not saying it, but it is referenced, the whole decolonization piece.
Mhm. That's what this is.
Okay.
So again, I'm not an author. I wasn't the author. I wasn't part of the consultations. I'm very lucky to be able to work with folks who are doing this work. But this was a series of consultations, urban, rural, and so I think in framing that, this is a decolonized approach to not only consultation, but statistics and recommendations. The vision actually of this is an app, is a gender-based violence app that's culturally safe.
Okay.
But there's a number of elements that need to happen before that's moved to that. So I think it's very important that it landed on this agenda because I think if there's interest, then we can move forward in discussing what that might look like. Because definitely, I think that there's some intersections in terms of city services. Specifically, it mentions 211, police, fire, paramedic, right?
So the app then would be resource referrals?
Yes.
Potentially?
Yes, it's my understanding it would be people who need it,
Yeah.
people who use it, and also for family members. So,
Wow, okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
Marianne?
Thank you. I just wanted to state a couple of things for the record. One is in response to the question around the page 3 that mentions decolonization. And I just wanted to say that from my understanding of reading the report, that decolonization work that's being referenced is part of reconciliation. So it's a direct response to frameworks like UNDRIP and calls to action, et cetera, that call for that. So that's where that comes from. The other thing I wanted to mention was that I'd like us to be cautious about framing this as a community education issue because many nations and communities are and have already been leading this work. So the gap, I believe, that is being addressed through this work is trying to address institutional responses. So with that in mind, I think that what Ruben had mentioned, I think it would be worthwhile to have a subcommittee to identify where there may be opportunities for municipal support or partnerships or some work that can support the redress alert as it develops further, and particularly in the areas that were mentioned by Jessica earlier related to public safety coordination and training and community resources.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. In fact, if you look at page 7 and 8, which has the 2026 priority actions, we've replicated those in large part while summarized within the human rights work plan. So I for sure would welcome, more energy on this file, more attention. And so as we, work towards our next meeting, let's figure that out. Did you want to move, Marianne? For information? Which means essentially the report will go up to council.
Sure. Yes, I will. Thanks.
Okay.
Do you want this to go up to council?
Well,
Because it doesn't automatically.
it goes right to EPC, sorry.
Well, that would have to be part of the motion to refer this to EPC and council as well.
Oh, okay. Would you like to amend the existing motion, Marianne, to ensure that it sort of gets on the permanent record up to EPC and council for information?
Yes, sure.
Okay. And I will endeavor to do what I said I was going to do with respect to sending a letter, letting them know it's on the formal agenda, but also printing it, as well as the police board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That was carried unanimously. Moving to the next agenda item. Thank you, Jessica Paley. Reflections on policy responses to displaced persons in Manitoba. Ruben, did you want to talk about the wonderful time we had back, was it February 11th? Or was it February 20th, something like that? Did you want to introduce the report?
Yeah, I don't have it handy now, but I think I shared it earlier. It was a report that looked into the federal government policies, especially with the focus on people that have migrated to Manitoba, looking at services provided during the arrival of the Syrians refugees, arrival of the Afghans refugees, and then the arrival of the Ukrainians, new arrivals. So looking at the services provided to those three cohorts with the intentions of learning of what could be replicated so that we better support refugees or newcomers in the city. So I think they reported there. Anna, I hope that you have the link and that you could share that. But yeah, like there's a lot of things to learn through those discussion in terms of what could be done better collectively as a society to make sure that people that choose to come here or being forced by situation to come here get the support that they need from us. And we will continue to have discussion on this as a sector, as a newcomer sector. And anyone that would be interested would also be invited. We will have a discussion earlier next month on, how do we disseminate the recommendation from that report to the relevant governments. So I'll leave it there.
Anything further on this? I'll just say that, boy, was it a great opportunity to learn from amazing folks, and including Jesse Hager, who's Dr. Jesse Hager, who is a wonderful academic. The juxtaposition of the case studies on settlement was fascinating. The recommendations, I agree, Ruben, that we should probably look at the recommendations at all levels on what we can focus on, with the settlement sector, and making sure that Winnipeg remains a leader. It has been a struggle lately, and there's no file that I think that is on tender hooks than the immigration file in Winnipeg, in Manitoba, and in Canada. I think there's a lot of things to boast in Manitoba, including, for instance, Minister Renee of the why can't I remember my own friends? Renee Cable's comments with respect to immigration and international students. but, and leading some of those conversations. But the juxtaposition of the manner in which we handled these cohorts and what we learned from them is what is exciting about this paper. And then being able to learn, what we then did as governments. So I'm committed to those next steps. I'm wondering if, Ruben, you want to make the same motion that effectively we made with the last motion that Marianne did for we take care of them, what we heard and what we hold. We can receive it as information, do more work on it as a committee. But we can also make sure that it goes all the way up to council for reading. I can distribute it the same way I did the last report, but the other opportunity we have is to do, that next step together, the meeting that you're suggesting, and then kind of reflect on it. There is a lot of recommendations in here that are made to Manitoba and to the federal government. But if you were in the room as I was, you heard our friend Ebdi, really having some tough words for the city of Winnipeg with respect to the newcomer welcome and inclusion policy. And, I want to acknowledge the public servants in the room that hold this file. And so, there's work to be done for sure in the city of Winnipeg too. We're not without our services that we have for those that are new, those that are PR, without identification, that still need to access city services like community services and more. That first document you get in Manitoba is really important, that health card. And when you don't get it, it's problematic. But Ruben, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you for suggesting that. I think maybe what we could do is to wait until that next meeting to strategize, because most of the recommendations directed to provincial government and some that are for both the federal government and provincial government. I know the work that we're doing here in the city is very important. It's not so many other cities are doing it. We have a policy framework that we are expected to implement, and we are struggling with that as a city because of we haven't allocated enough resources to make sure that the policy, which is a city policy, is implemented. And so I think I don't want to bring more information without really asking for something concrete. So I think we will wait on this until we meet with the sector leaders next month. And in our discussion, as you mentioned earlier, people are very keen that like the city has a role in terms of supporting people that have chosen to live here because they're part of us. They pay taxes and they live here. And so having process of helping them settle and integrate with ease is an advantage for the city. And given now that numbers are being cut, cities are our city is expected to work more to make sure that we retain the people that choose to come here. So I will come back to the committee with more of kind of a clear ask, if you don't mind. And then after that next meeting that I just mentioned, and then we'll have the discussion afterwards.
So did you want to move to receive it as information, or do you want to move it to the next meeting agenda?
I would like to move it to the next meeting agenda.
Okay, so moved by Ruben Garang. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, excellent. Subcommittee report. So attached is the Equity Diversity Subcommittee report. They held a meeting. Kara, would you want to speak to this report?
Sure, I can. Yeah, so we just recently had an Equity and Diversity Subcommittee meeting. We have another one coming up in a couple of weeks. And we have three kind of main items in the works right now. One being our ongoing partnership with Rainbow Resource Center and Probe Research. So from what I understand, the research that we have partnered with Probe and Rainbow on has, like, the numbers have come in. So it's just going for review before it comes to the subcommittee. So we're just kind of waiting to see kind of what those numbers say, and that will in large part inform kind of the work that we do in the future regarding 2S LGBTQIA plus rights in the city of Winnipeg. So that's exciting. The second thing on kind of our radar right now is working towards hosting a Pride documentary screening. Ali, Owen, and Chris from the subcommittee and I just actually had a meeting yesterday morning to talk about a partnership opportunity on this very topic with the National Film Board of Canada. So that is pretty exciting as well. The opportunity there looks really interesting, and we're definitely wanting to pursue that. So we have responded to the inquiry from the National Film Board of Canada and are just waiting to hear back before we move into the next steps there. And then the kind of third item that we're working on right now is we are working on gender-based violence resource guides. Our subcommittee has taken the Google form that I created for collecting resources and information related to gender-based violence supports and services in Winnipeg, and they have put it out to all their networks, and we're collecting all of that information. And then at our next meeting, the plan is to go over what we've collected and kind of start forming it into something that is usable. And the idea is that the resource guides would be available in city facilities, on city website, perhaps. Maybe other community organizations would want to have that resource guide as well. It's intended to be as comprehensive and inclusive as possible. So we're gathering information around resources that cover a wide variety of service areas. So yeah, we're just collecting information right now, and then our next step will be going over that as a group at our next meeting, which is in a couple of weeks, I think. So that's those are the kind of three main things that we're working on at the moment.
Any questions at this time? Okay. I'm going to assume that Kara, you'll be willing to move the report. Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? That was carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody. The last report we have is a verbal report on annual workforce diversity report. I want to welcome Human Resources to the table. And I don't know who's presenting.
We're actually both going to present it, Peter.
Okay.
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 You want me to kick it off? I can kick it off. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson and councillors and committee members. Hi, Ruben. Of all the folks up there, I recognize you. So if you don't know me, my name is Chris Brenz. I'm the manager for the Community Development Division in the Office of the CAO now. And I'm joined.
My apologies. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, I didn't introduce you.
No, all
Yeah.
good. I sort of a last minute addition here. And so I'm as you may know, some of the components of the Equity Office and the EDI strategy are now located within the community development team. So between the two of us, Dave and I will go over updates on the reporting. So as you know, the motion of council on October 3rd required the city to come back within 150 days and provide a verbal update on the work of the EDI strategy.
And Dave Clark, everyone, for the record.
I was going to introduce
Yeah.
myself too.
Sorry, I'm sorry to
no
interrupt my
problem.
friends. Dave Clark. Yeah, I know them. I apologize for not introducing you. Go ahead.
No.
Welcome.
So my updates are on the aspects that we've been working on, and you'll have to excuse me. I'm doing my best to catch myself up. I'm returning from a 7-month paternity leave. This is week 2. So if I have some blind spots on
Welcome
the information, let me know. Okay,
Welcome back.
Boy or girl?
girl, Emma, and she's twin sisters,
Congratulations.
all under 4. It's,
Give them as much latitude.
I know.
as necessary.
No,
I get one meeting, I guess.
he knows that, I have had the pleasure of meeting all his kids. So, yeah,
Yep.
the pleasure. The twins actually have as much energy as I had when I was a little girl. So yes,
Very handful.
I think they are a handful and I'm excited for him. His life is so exciting, as is Peter Prinsloo's also, dad, Councillor Chambers, many of you, anyways, back to the agenda. I
That's right,
apologize.
folks. That was our
With a chair like this, you don't need enemies. Chris Friends,
So-
Equity Diversity, report.
Some of the key updates to provide, first, that occurred during the reporting period, is on the professional equity networks, or on the PENs. So we've created 2 new PENs. That includes Advocates for Accessibility and Inclusion for Employees with Disabilities, that was recently created, as well as the Newcomer Connection with a focus on City of Winnipeg newcomer and immigrant employees. So both those PENs are now have been established. We also have an expression of interest for the Racialized Employees PEN, which will be posted shortly. There are 2 existing PENs that are already doing work. The first, and we've just identified the membership, and that is the Women at Work PEN and the Pride Council are active in planning their events and activities for the year. And many departments, including community development and transit and others, as mentioned earlier, are already supporting the part of that planning, specifically around Pride. So for the remaining PENs that we have planned, and this is for Indigenous employees and French-speaking employees, we're still working on developing those and moving them forward as the others. In following that, and as part of a second update, we are working to develop an equity lens and impact assessment tool, as you may be aware. We have been in connection with Dr. Chen, who is Vice Provost of Equity at the University of Manitoba, and they have shared U of M's comprehensive impact assessment tool with our team, and we're reviewing that and looking at it now. They will also be supporting us with research on other tools such as Gender-Based Analysis Plus, and assisting our team in creating a tool that will help departments assess their EDI considerations, which is good. The team has also worked with Chris Roostat and Brenda Kelly to submit a grant application to the Manitoba the Manitoba Accessibility Fund to work on this project to create the content and considerations for persons with disabilities. HR very recently has shared a contact with myself related from the City of Ottawa for us to reach out and connect with them, and we'll be doing that as the City of Ottawa has created their own equity lens tool, and that could be something that we could certainly learn from and apply to our own work. And then finally, with regard to the Diversity Reports Working Group, they are currently exploring data visualizations to report diversity on winnipeg.ca and the Open Data Portal. So that's just a snapshot of some of the work that we are doing within our team. And then I'll pass it over to yourself.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Just again, to introduce yourself to myself, to you who may have not met me already, I'm Dave Clark. I'm the Director of HR for the City of Winnipeg. It's really my privilege to work with Chris so closely on a lot of these initiatives. So really wanted to start by thanking and acknowledging Greg McPherson for the work that he did covering for Chris. It was great working with Greg, and I know he's not gone, so we'll get to work with him still. And I'm excited to have Chris back leading the team there. Chris alluded to the Diversity Reports Working Group, just to acknowledge them as well. Diane Burrell, Jennifer Bodnar-Chuck, and Justin Dolman. They do amazing work in analyzing, dissecting data and making it digestible for all of us. So, and I acknowledge them because that's kind of my first point that I wanted to talk about. And just to share with the newer members of the team, annually we provide a workforce diversity report. So last year we brought it to this committee in October. We're working on the 2025 report, and our plan is to have that report come to this committee on the June 8th meeting. That's our tentative date right now. Our HR information systems team has released the diversity data to the Diversity Reports Working Group, and they're starting that analysis of the information. So that's point number one. Number two, I know it's 2026, and I'm going to talk about a few things that we're rolling out right now. Already this year, in the first few weeks of the year, we've had two successful recruitment events held just in the last few weeks, where we had about 300 attendees come. It's called the Focused Mass Recruitment. It's one of our most collaborative events where we bring together Indigenous relations, community development, hiring managers, HR teams, and targeted community groups to come and be interviewed. And more than just interviewing, it's connecting them with resources and removing those real barriers that might exist in terms of maybe paying for a police record check, paying for safety shoes, paying for certifications. And so we're removing those for these community groups to help them get in the door at the City of Winnipeg. So we've already had 300 attendees, and we have many more events coming up. When it comes to talent acquisition, in 2025, our team went out and had over 90 community engagements throughout the City of Winnipeg, all corners of the city, reaching out to youth as well as to older individuals within all of our equity groups. And so we expect that trend of close to 100 community events to occur this year as well. Just for clarity, in case we're unaware, and I should have mentioned this when it came to the diversity reports, we focus on 6 equity groups within the City of Winnipeg: women, 2S LGBTQIA+, Indigenous persons, racialized persons, persons with a disability, and newcomers. So those are the 6 categories that we've looked at. And when we talk about targeted community groups, those are the targeted groups that we're referencing. Something that I was hoping would be rolled out before I did this presentation, but we're just doing our last few checks to make sure that this works in the system. But we have an initiative that'll be rolling out that hasn't been communicated yet, so it's kind of breaking news right now. And it's regarding chosen or preferred names for city staff here. So we heard this need expressed by employees and leaders within our organization of individuals living with dead names, but having reactions to seeing those names on emails, on schedule lists, where they don't associate with that name anymore. So we've worked with our HR information systems, we worked with our IT teams to create this program and this protocol so that individuals can be recognized by their preferred or chosen name within the city. So we'll be releasing more information on that in the coming weeks, but we've just had to make sure our testing and our systems work to provide a safe, healthy, welcoming.
Can you provide an example of that?
So the simplest one would be is if my gender identity doesn't match my name. If my name is Jack and I don't associate it with Jack anymore, I now use a different name. Rather than have that pop up on so many city documents, clean that up so that we're not triggering in that regard. So good. And then I really enjoyed, I know Chris has only been back for a short period of time, but working with Chris and his team and our corporate communications team on enhancing our communications regarding our SDQ, our self-declaration questionnaire. That's the tool that we receive people's voluntary self-identity through. We're at 66%, which is a good number in terms of people who have participated.
How do you calculate that number if not everybody's putting in as a diverse person?
So that's where this work is ongoing. And so out of the 10,000 plus employees, 6,600 or thereabouts have submitted it in some form or fashion. And it's voluntary, so they can elect not to. They can elect not to disclose the information. But it's also, they can go and update it if something has changed in terms of their life. Part of it is an education on why we're doing this, what we're collecting it for. Part of it is the definitions of each of those categories, but also creating that safe space so that people feel comfortable sharing that it's not going to be abused, misused in any form or fashion. So that's where we're working with comms to create a strategy to approach our audience of City of Winnipeg employees, leveraging our PENS so that they're providing input on what that comms plan looks like, so that we're really providing the right message, that safe message, to get more engagement in that tool. You're absolutely correct, Councillor Chambers, where 66%, but if 25% of those people have elected not to share anything, we want the real data to help. So, and I think that covered the main points that I had listed to mention in the report.
Anything else, Councillor Chambers?
Yeah, so thank you for the report. I note that this past month of February, it is Black History Month. And every year, especially since I've been elected, there is a job fair, which is put on by the Afro-Caribbean Association of Manitoba, and usually well attended by the city of Winnipeg in terms of transit, WPS, and a bunch of other fire paramedics and a bunch of other different departments would usually attend. This year, the event took place on February 21st. It was a Saturday, not well attended by the city of Winnipeg. Is there a way to connect with the Human Resource Department to get better attendance at events like this, where, again, you're covering the waterfront in terms of, whether they're newcomers, whether they're from racialized communities, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. Probably an area where we have the opportunity for improvement. Obviously, that's disappointing to hear on that miss. At the end of the day, I'm a great contact, so I can feed that to my talent acquisition team. As we evolve, I may actually be bringing a talent acquisition individual even to this meeting that can hear about the activities and feedback that need to be heard from the HRCC. But absolutely, we'll find a way to communicate so that if any other councillors have something that they want to share, that they have a great opportunity. Again, we have people coming to a location that are seeking employment. We have jobs. Why are we not utilizing that to its fullest?
And how much in advance would you need notice to prepare and attend an event like this job fair?
A few weeks at most, depending on what agency is coming. But I would say it's not a long turnaround. We're equipped and prepared to do this.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's every year.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of notice,
During February.
guess what? February. It's like, so I'm not sure if, there's a calendar item, because if you know it's coming, then you're just there, right? Sometimes, people cycle around, but it would be good because it's every year, like clockwork.
Third Saturday of the month of February.
Yeah. So we need a motion to receive this report as information, with thanks to Dave and Chris for coming.
I will
Do
move.
you want-
I can
yeah,
move.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Councillor Chambers. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we'll need a motion for adjournment. If that was carried unanimously. Gav, do you want to do a motion to adjourn? Unless anyone has a motion to adjourn. If you'd like to do one. Oh,
Yeah.
Kara, I see your hand. All those in favor? Okay, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Right on time.
Bye for now.